questions, Emma. And just to everybody to remind you that in response to some of your questions, we decided to try and do a once a month on the first Monday of the month at 5:30 p.m. A basic Q&A where people can bring their deals, people can bring their questions. We can try and have conversations about people who are about you who are trying to buy things or don't quite understand things. And so this is May 1st. So the next one is going to be in June. And I'd appreciate it if any of you are listening to this, if you're interested, to let us know. And if you're not, that's fine too. I just would like to know. So the question basically is, what are we looking at in a sniff test? Is that right? What are the criteria?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so just to hit the highlights, what we're doing in a sniff test is we're not trying to get a whole lot of information. The goal of this to be done in 4 to 5 minutes and to decide whether this is worth looking at further or not. So you don't need a lot of information. What we do want preferentially, number one, is a current rent roll. We just need 1 month. But that rent roll needs to have all of the units listed, and it needs to have whether they are occupied or vacant and what the rent is for that unit. So if you have 20 units and you have 18 filled, then I would expect to see 18 names. And next to those 18 names, what they are currently paying in rent. I'd expect to see for those 2 units that are vacant that there is a unit number but no name. The other thing I want to know is if any of the current people have not paid rent. So if we have back rent owing, so there is some bad debt on that, right? And so what I'm going to be getting for that is I add all of that together and I get the total income, and I'm going to subtract from that any people who haven't paid the rent for this month. But I'm not adding in all the bad debt. I'm just adding in the people who haven't paid for that month. That gives me a current rent, right? I'm going to take that and I'm going to use about 50% of that to figure out what my expenses and my vacancy is, right? So now I have a idea of what my net operating income is, NOI. So current rents minus the vacancies gives me my gross rent, my actual rent. 50% of that is a rough estimate of what my net operating income is. I'm going to take that number and I'm going to divide it by 0.08 and get a number. I'm going to divide it by 0.09 and get a number. And I'm going to divide it by 0.1 and get a number. So 0.08 is an 8% capitalization rate. 0.09 is a 9% capitalization rate. 0.1 is a 10% capitalization rate. I'm going to look to see that is what I can probably afford to pay and make a little money for myself and my investors. If what they are asking is more than 20% more than what the 0.08 number is, I'm probably just going to pass it because they're wanting too much. And if I were to pay that, I wouldn't be able to make money for myself or my investors. I would, however, just to get back to whoever is sending you that information, if that's coming from a broker or a homeowner, I would do an email back and say, this is where I am. This is the range in which I think I can offer, given the limited amount of information you're giving me right now. And this is why I can pay this. If things change, please let me know. Right?
Yep.
So the key here is to know what you think you can pay given the numbers they're giving you. Be able to tell the broker why, or the seller why, and to leave it as an opening so that if their situation changes, they can get back to you. So that's how I would use that. Do you think that gets at what she was asking, James?
Absolutely. I do have a follow-up question. When you send that into the broker, do you follow? Here is her second question. Given today's environment, what do you recommend someone that's relatively new do to be successful in buying apartments or mobile home parks?
So what I would do is two main things. Three. Number one, I would be out in rural America in the tertiary markets. So that's either the rural part of the country or out in the third tier out. So the distant commuting distance that people have from cities, because prices are going to be better there. I would be looking at smaller properties, and so 4 to 10 to 15 units to begin with to get my feet under me, and to probably be able to look at something that a residential realtor may be looking at, something like that. I would be trying to find, I would not be going to big lenders. I would be trying to find, the savings and loans and credit unions to get the loans, or very small local banks. Right. So I would be focusing out. I would be looking at smaller properties. And I would be recognizing that I need to be in at an 8 or 9 cap rate to make this work in this day, particularly with the inflation and the current interest rates. So this is not the time to start with larger properties, even though you may have money and you may have the appetite. I think I would start smaller, get a couple of those properties under your belt, then start looking for bigger properties. Did that
That's
kind of
great.
get at that, James?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great advice. And I like the way you broke it down to 3 steps. So, all right. Well, Emma, thanks so much for your questions. And we will post this so you can see your answers. And thank you very much. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being on, and hopefully we'll talk to you next month.
All right, I can edit out the rest of it. So, okay. Sorry no one showed up, but we'll get on it and be sending this out more often. I'm going to send out the email to everybody basically asking, hey, do you want us to do this? And if we do, will you be attending, basically?
Yeah, that's probably the best we can do, unfortunately.
All right. Okay.
I don't know what else to do, but I thought it was a good idea, but
No, I think
maybe
it's a great idea. You would think that more people would be on, but I'm just, like I said, I got 2 emails from this guy Harold or whatever it is asking questions. So, and he got the email saying, hey, Nicheole will be on. So obviously, he's pursuing, so he should have been on tonight. So I don't know, I don't know. So,
All
okay.
right, well, some people may not, 5:30 may be too early, so we may also ask if 5:30 is too early, what time works, right? Now, I'm not willing to get on at later, but I was willing up to 6:30 or something like that.
Okay.
All righty,
All
talk to
right.
you later.
Thanks. Bye.